Good morning and welcome to my farm. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jason. The name of our farm is Wishwell Farms. We raise vegetables on approximately 60 acres and we have 5 greenhouses. We also grain farm on 1,300 acres. So if you like behind the scenes farm stuff, watching vegetables being harvested and sold at numerous farmers markets around central Ohio, you are in the right place. It's looking like it's shaping up to be an absolutely beautiful day here on the farm. Thank you for joining me. So one of the very first things we do here at Wishwell Farms every morning is harvest sweet corn. But we're holding off just a little bit today because of the heavy dew. We've been very fortunate and blessed this season to have a lot of dry days for harvesting. But you get soaking wet picking corn when there's a lot of dew. So we're gonna let that burn off about a half hour, and I currently have the crew down in the grape tomato greenhouse. So if you've been following my channel, I have mentioned a time or two that we are letting our grape tomatoes go because we have moved on to more field crops, specifically watermelons and cantaloupes, and they take up a lot of our time. So something has to give. And since the demand for grape tomatoes has dropped significantly, we have decided to let those go. However, we are back in there today to maybe give them one final pick because they are really good. They're really heavy, really thick, and it should only take them about a half an hour to get a nice supply to get us through another week of selling grape tomatoes at farmers markets. So we'll go down there and check that out here in just a second, but let me show you what I got on the agenda for today. I normally come out at about 6 a.m. to pack up our mobile produce trailer. It goes to a busy intersection about 25 miles down the road every day of the week but Sunday. So Cameron will be here to take off for that market in about an hour. I just like getting that trailer knocked out early so I can focus on getting ready to work with the crew, putting a list together for them of everything we're harvesting, and I want to show you that list right now. So just so I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I like to make a little list of everything that's happening each day. So if I'm busy doing something else, I can just give the crew this list and they know what we need. It's kind of a light day. We're going to be picking 6 to 8 tubfuls of bell peppers. And when I say a tub full, I'm talking about these 1 3/4 bushel tubs, probably closer to a bushel and a half. So they're going to pick 7 to 8 tubs of bell peppers, 8 to 9 tubs of eggplant, and we like to wait till the eggplant are dry. If you pick them when they're dewy, and then after the dew dries, they just look dirty, and we don't wash our eggplant. We're going to be picking 2 hamper basketfuls of jalapenos, 2 to 3 baskets of bananas. They're in there picking 10 to 15 flats of grape tomatoes right now, and beside the grape tomatoes, I have 2 rows of field tomatoes. The variety is Red Deuce. They have just about run their course, but I told them to go through them again just to see how they look. And the reason I told them to go through the Red Deuce again, even though there might not be many in there, is because our field tomatoes have just not turned a lot yet. It's kind of a late season for field tomatoes. Normally they're coming on pretty hot and heavy by the 10th to 15th. But I guess it is only the 14th today, so it's pretty typical. There's just not a lot of color out there yet. So we're gonna be a little short on tomatoes this week because we have finished picking our 4 hydroponic greenhouses full of beefsteak tomatoes. We have a pile of trash to throw out today, some cardboard that needs burned, and some vegetable trash that is just rotten. It accumulates throughout the week. We're harvesting a nice patch of green beans, probably about 35 bushels. And we have a bunch of watermelon out in the field that have already been harvested. They just need picked up and put in the bins. I have the wagon ready right here. So we've already harvested the watermelons and lined them up in the field. Now we just need to go out and pick them up. I think there's gonna be about 6 bins worth. And we also have about 5.5 bins here that we picked up earlier in the week. And we will run them through our vegetable washer to clean them up and sort them into 2 sizes. So I'll move this and we'll have 2 bins here, and we will sort those watermelons into smalls and larges. But first, we're gonna put our green beans through here after we harvest green beans. I'll move that lift over here. We'll dump them in the lift. They'll go across this vibrating shaker table, so broken bits will fall out right here, and little pieces of dirt and rocks that maybe have gotten harvested. They'll fall onto the table. We'll pack them into those 1 bushel bean crates that you see right there, and then we will dunk them into a tub of cold water that will be right here to remove that field heat and do a final wash. And then the beans will be ready to roll into the cooler and sold throughout this weekend and early next week. You can see that it is quite the jungle in here, but the grape tomatoes are loaded, and I haven't been taking care of them, so you can see all the aphids and thrips and I don't know if those are white flies or aphids. They are covered in insects right there, but there are some nice spots in here that are just loaded with big, beautiful grape tomatoes. How do they look? Is the quality decent?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty shiny and red.
Still some splits here and there. Sometimes they split after you pick them. It's really strange. And I haven't been taking care of these tomatoes at all. So no spraying, no mixing of fertilizer or pH adjustment to correct the pH of my water that I feed my plants, because these are grown hydroponically. So the quality is going downhill fast, but they are absolutely loaded, and it's going to be just like a half hour of harvesting to get what we need to get us through another weekend. They're nice and red. A lot of bugs.
Yeah, they're crawling all over.
Are there some spots in here with no bugs?
No, not really.
Oh boy. Emma said there's a bird nest in there. So I'll be turning the water off on these plants probably next week. I'll keep them going just in case we have a rainy day and we want to go in there and pick one more time. But next week I'll be turning all the water off and allowing all the tomatoes to dry up and die and kind of get crispy and light, so we can easily remove them from the greenhouse. The last thing you want to do is keep them going all the way until fall and have to drag out green plants because they're so heavy and you just get so messy. So we let them all get dry and crispy. We'll cut them all out from the base and from the string at the top and drag them out and burn them, just to make sure there's no disease lingering around. That's why we burn our plants. All right, we'll let them wrap that up, and then we're gonna head out and load up some watermelon and pick some green beans next. All right, we're getting these seedless watermelons out of the field. They've been out here for a couple days, and if we leave them out here too long, they'll start getting bleached by the sun. So we want to get them up in the barn, washed and stacked and rolled into our 60-degree storage cooler. You can see we had some hot spots of cucumber beetles that didn't get killed when I sprayed them, and it almost darn near ruined some of them. But a lot of them look beautiful. It's very random. Cucumber beetles can be devastating to vine crops like cucumbers, squash, zucchini, cantaloupe, watermelon, so you got to keep them sprayed at least weekly with something to eradicate them, or they will just devastate your crop. So we're just picking up every size, putting them in any box, and we will sort them when they come out of the washer. They got nice size, just a little too much cucumber beetle damage. I'm guessing we'll be out here harvesting 2 more times. We like to harvest our watermelons on Tuesdays. Tuesday's a little bit of a down day for harvesting other crops, so that's the day we like to do field tomatoes and watermelons. So we'll probably harvest for the next 2 Tuesdays, then we'll have them all out of the field, ready for that big Labor Day weekend. See, some of them are perfectly clean with no damage. And then right beside it, you'll find one that's damaged. And the beetles don't hurt the inside of the watermelon. It's just a cosmetic problem. You know, they gnaw on the rind, on the outside of the rind, and make it look ugly, and customers don't know what that is. So we would prefer to not have cucumber beetle damage, obviously. There's one so bad it looks like the color of cardboard. All right, we're gonna finish getting these loaded up, and I'll bring you back when we start running them through the washer. I'm now in my green bean patch, ready to harvest some green beans with our Oxbow BH100 1-row harvester. I have 12 rows here that are ready to pick. Actually, only 10 left. I've already went around it once on Tuesday, and it was decent, but I think it's gonna be a lot better today. Let me show you what the beans look like before picked and after picked. Beautiful green beans. I see that they're a little bit dewy. I like to wait a little bit later in the morning. When they're more flexible and warm, they pick better and there's less breakage. But these are kind of cool and damp right now, but I have to get started. I can't wait any longer. Yeah, there's a lot of dew out here. So I'll just go slower so there's more time for the machine to properly pick these beans. So right beside this unpicked row is a picked row. This is what it looks like after they're picked. I always get questions in the comments, can I pick these a second time? The answer is no. There's hardly any leaves left on them. All the beans have been picked. Anything that was a small bean like this, called a pin bean, or, you know, even in the bud stage, those all get ripped off the plants and blown out of the picker. So this is all we're left with. And I don't want to harvest them again. Every now and again, some beans will regrow on there, but the problem is any beans that were left behind are big and fat and squishy and full of beans, so they get picked as well. So you just can't go back and pick them a second time. That's why we always plant a new patch every week. So I have a month's worth of green bean picking right here in this little 2-acre section to my left. So we'll finish this one today. Tuesday will be the one next to it, and then next week will be the one next to that, so on and so forth. All right, I see Elijah just made it here with the box truck. He's got the 30 tubs that we're gonna fill today. So we're gonna get out, I think, 10 tubs. We'll put them back here on this platform, and he will ride on this platform, and we'll make a couple rounds, fill the 10 tubs, then back up to the box truck and slide them in there and repeat the process till we have 30 of these 1 3/4 bushel tubs. But in reality, we only get about 1.3 to 1.4 bushels of beans in one of these tubs. All right, let's get started. So I took the cover off so you guys can see the picking reel. These are the picking fingers. They spin at a high RPMs. I actually drive at 2,000 to 2,100 RPMs picking these green beans. I'm gonna turn this on and show you what it looks like, and it's also a good opportunity for me to see if any of them are knocked off position. So if you hit a big rock, it knocks off these picking fingers off to the side, and then it makes a big scratching, clanking noise, so you gotta stop and put it back into position. So let's turn it on, I'll show you what it looks like. Actually sounds like one is rubbing a little bit. This one needs replaced, but it'll be fine for this season. So this is idle. I'm gonna turn it up so you can see what it looks like at picking speed. You would think that would damage the beans, but it doesn't. It's like magic. The green bean harvest is going fantastic. We have 20 tubs already, and we've only made 3 rounds. We have 2 more rounds left. Take a look at these beans. Beautiful. This variety is Valentino. Absolutely perfect size. We got 12 in the truck already. Putting another 8 in there right now. So this is what the patch is looking like so far. 2 more rounds of good picking, so we should get 14 to 15 more tubs out of there. And let's check out this dark horse variety. They're just about there. I mean, if I needed to pick these today, I could, but I think they'll be fine until Tuesday. They look pretty small, and there's some small beans still in here like this. That will be perfect size for next Tuesday. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of beans in this patch here too. Valentino dark horse. And here in a couple weeks, I'll be harvesting a couple new varieties all the way over on the far side of the field. I don't remember all the names of the varieties. One of them is just something I wanted to try this year. I think it's Justify, maybe. And then there's 3 trial beans that Rupp Seed sent me to trial out on our farm. Jaguar, Sanford, and the third one's a number. I can't remember what it is. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing so you don't miss harvesting those trial beans next month. But Valentino and Dark Horse have been my 2 go-to bean varieties for several years. Valentino for probably over a decade. Dark Horse, I think this is only my 2nd year. And everybody always asks me, have I tried this variety? Have you tried that variety? I've planted 20 or 30 varieties over the years. Most of them have been good. The problem is, I want a bean that's going to be good to harvest with my picker, that sets its pods high up on the plant and that separate from the petiole easily. I had one variety about a decade ago. I absolutely loved the green bean, but it could not be separated from the little cluster, the petioles, the stems that the beans were attached to. So we had to either pack them in clusters into our bean crates or pull them apart as we were packing them. It was just a big pain in the butt. So Dark Horse and Valentino, they separate from the cluster really well and are individual beans. Hopefully that makes sense. They just pick really well and they look really nice. People love them. Well, this has been our best green bean harvest of the year by far. We're actually down to our last tub. That's number 30. And Emma should be coming down the trail any moment with another 7 tubs. We're on our final round, and it's taken about 7.5 tubs per round. So as soon as she comes down the trail here, we will wrap up this bean harvest, get them back to the barn, and washed and packed. Final 40 feet. Big old weeds right there. That's it. Let's get them in the truck. All right, glad to have the green beans done. And it's still fairly early. Let's see what we got here. 10:15, not bad. And I see the other crew down in the vegetable field. They just finished up eggplant and peppers. So now we're gonna all meet up in the barn. The big thing we're gonna be doing here for the next hour is getting all these washed and packed, as well as our 10 bins of seedless watermelon. So I know I'm going to get some questions about how big that patch was, what kind of yields did I get, how much money am I going to make off that patch. So I'm guessing that patch was about 1/4 to 1/3 of an acre, probably closer to 1/3 of an acre. And we're going to end up with about 50 bushels out of that patch when it's all said and done, and we get them all packed up into bushel crates. So not the best yields, but still not bad. That's pretty typical for our farm. And we sell our bushels of beans for $75 because we put them in quart containers and retail all of them at farmers markets for $3 per quart basket per pound. And there's 25 pounds approximately in a bushel of beans. So 50 bushels times $75, somewhere around $3,500, I'm guessing, for that little 1/3 of an acre patch. So if you're doing that each week throughout the entire season, you can pay for one of these machines pretty quick. But we don't always have good yields. We lost a lot of beans early in the season, and now we're having some weed pressure for our late beans. And if we don't have timely rains, we won't have much of a harvest in the late season. So we only get a handful of good crops every year by not having irrigation and relying on natural rainfall. So that does come back to bite me a little bit each year. But I'm pretty happy with this patch. Hopefully we get a few more like that. We're getting our peppers put through the washer, get them all nice and cleaned up for sale. We're starting to get some red peppers. The problem with red peppers, or waiting for them to turn red, is they often get soft spots. Gotta keep them watered good. I currently don't have the round table running because I got this bean shaker in the way. Put about 3 crates into the water trough. All right, then we pick up arm loads and throw them into the lift. Up the lift they go, onto the shaker table. Nate is pulling out stems, leaves, weed roots, anything that doesn't belong. Over here we have Emma and Steven packing up the finished product into these 1 bushel crates. And then we close the lid. It's got 3 wires on it. And Emma will set it right here for Elijah to put in the second trough to remove some more field heat from the beans and to wash them off. Then they get stacked over here on the pallet. We'll have about 45 to 50 today, so it's going to be 7 layers high. 7 bean crates to a layer. 4 that direction, 3 this direction, and now we will alternate the layers back and forth. So they kind of interlock, 7 layers high. Sometimes they don't go up the lift quite as fast as we like. So I put a 2x6 down there. Maybe I should turn it the other direction to give this elevator less angle and the beans ride up it a little bit faster. So in this trough, cold water is going in the bottom, In a little bit, it'll be full and the warm water will exit out the top. So we're constantly getting new, fresh, cold water into this trough. We set them there to let them drain just for a minute, and then we'll stack them on the pallet. Beautiful beans today, aren't they? These are nice. Oh, we got a big pile coming. We're getting backed up. All right, we're gonna get these green beans finished up, and I'll bring you back when it's time to wash watermelon. Here's the peppers they harvested this morning, 11 tubs. They're looking better. Still not as big as I like, but they're not bad. You know, I needed at least 8, so they overpicked a little bit. That's all right, peppers hold well. Here's the 8 eggplant they harvested. Beautiful, humongous eggplant. We're getting pretty filled up in here. So after lunch today, I'll be coming in here to remove these 8 bins of cantaloupes out of this cooler because we need more room tomorrow for corn, cucumbers, zucchini, and more cantaloupe. So I want to put those 8 bins, which is probably 500 or 600 melons, down in my tomato cooler storage area, which is kept at about 62 degrees. And that will keep them fresh throughout today. And then tomorrow night, I'll be pulling them all out so they're ready to load on the box trucks for Saturday morning sales. All right, we're sending our watermelon through the washer now. It goes a little quicker than cantaloupe because there's a lot less watermelons in a bin versus a bin of cantaloupes. So these small ones, this size, you'll get about 60 or 70 in a bin. And there's not really too many big ones in here. Big ones like that, you can only get about 45 in a bin. This cleans them up nice and gives us an opportunity to separate them by size. And what a shame to have all these big, beautiful melons damaged by cucumber beetles. Terrible. But then you get some that aren't. They look great. I wonder where Big Bertha is. Big Bertha's coming through. Oh, there she is. Look at that big boy. Woo! Or a big girl. Couple Big Berthas here. Man, those are like 30 counts. 30 to 35 counts. Uh-oh, we're plugging up. All right, we got her going again. We had Big Bertha plugging things up in there. Sometimes the water gets plugged up from leaves from packing beans. Still got some old pickles down here from 3 weeks ago. There we go. Just brought the watermelon into the tomato cooler a little bit ago. All washed and packed and sorted and ready to move at the farmers markets. Well, it was another busy morning on the farm, harvesting, washing, and packing produce. And you know, I kind of feel like we've made it over the hump of the hardest part of the season, but we still have a long way to go. This is where we're going to wrap this one up today, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all again next time down on the farm.